Hello, and welcome to Going Global After Graduation. My name is Lisa Armstrong. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm an advisor at Study Abroad UC San Diego, and I'm joined by my colleagues Kim Burton, also in the Study Abroad office, and Mike Strohmeyer from the Career Services Center. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. I know week 5 can be a stressful one, and that's on top of a year of general pandemic stress. So I'd like to invite you all to pause, making lunch, scrolling through your phones or whatever else you may be doing, and take a few deep breaths. We know that some of you may have had study abroad and other travel plans impacted by COVID-19, and I'm looking forward to a world in which things will slowly be getting back to usual so I can make some stamps in my freshly renewed passport. Here is our agenda for the day, and as you can see, we'll be talking about a number of ways to have an international experience. We'll cover some popular programs, resources, and how to fund the experience. Not all of these are limited to after you graduate, but that is the focus today. We'll do our best to address any questions you put in the chat as we go, but we've also budgeted some time at the end for you to ask the bulk of your questions. Mike has to head out to another meeting pretty soon, so we're going to have a special Q&A section right after the work abroad section as well. All the links we'll be discussing are available on our website. We will be recording this session and posting it on that web page. So if you have to leave early, you're covered, and I'll add it to the chat in a moment. Before we start, we'd like to find out a little bit about our audience. So I've got a quick survey via menti.com. Well done. Thank you, everyone. That does give us some helpful information for proceeding. So from here, I'll turn it over to Mike to tell us more about working abroad, which is what the bulk of people seem to want to know about.
All right, this is great. Wonderful. So what a great group that we have here today and to be part of. Let's see here if I can. Perfect. All right. So what we're going to do is this is something you may or may not be familiar with. I hope you are. And if you're not, I'd like to introduce you to Handshake. Handshake is an opportunity for you to get connected to the Career Center and beyond. You can make appointments with individual coaches, advisors. You can go to informational sessions. You can go to career events. You can see jobs. All on-campus jobs are posted there. There's a lot of really cool resources. And there's just a whole bunch of wonderful things that are all part of this that I want you to take a look at. But today, we're going to look at one of the resources. So you would go to a Career Center right here, and it'll take you to, of course, the Geisel Library. And you're going to want to go to Resources. Now, when you get to Resources, you're going to see some really cool things. And we're going to focus on one called Going Global. Now, these are, of course, resources for PhD, graduate school. This is for the Healthy Guide for pre-health. But down here, in this kind of green one you'll see is Going Global. And it gives you a lot of different kinds of things to do the search for the next level. And so that's what we're going to take a look at and see what it looks like for you. If you're interested in doing, there's no cost to these things. These are part of your experience here at the university. You can use them anytime you want. Oftentimes, though, they want you to set up some sort of sign in so that you can use it and save your information. But we're just going to go over a couple of basic kinds of things to get some of the things that you might be looking for as you move forward and want to know more about what's going on. So I'm going to go to log in today. Okay, here we go. So what this is the main page. As you can see, there are a number of different kinds of things we want to talk about. The main kind of areas are the career guides, the job opportunities, and H-1B directory, what that may be about and what you're interested in. So first, people are interested in jobs and internships. Let's take a look at what that looks like. Well, let's just take a look at from the beginning here, career guides. There's country, global, US city, and career news. So let's say you're going to a specific country. You want to know a little bit about the country. For example, let's pick, I don't know, Spain as an example. And you want to go to Spain. You want to know a little bit about what the culture is like in that particular area and how you get to the top companies, what the employment trends are. It's all right here. They have job search resources, and they have things that are even more particular. As you may or may not know, some countries have different kinds of application products that they use in terms of a resource I would talk about as a resume. Some allow pictures, some don't, some different types of information. So clicking on the resume or CV, which is a curricula vitae, we can help you with that if you need to. They're talking about interview advice. This is all these different major companies that are listed here through Going Global. This is a great way to understand and get in touch with where you want to be and how to get there from the very beginning. But that's not the only thing that's out there. You might kind of be looking very specifically towards maybe some kind of jobs or internships that are out there that you really want to know. So let's say you go to the job section here. So one of the cool things about this is that the job section here is actually kind of like more of if you've ever heard of something called Indeed or something like that, where it's updated on a regular basis and it pulls from a lot of different sources. So you can search all these huge lists of countries, as you can see here, or you can even select United States to search for locations in the United States for opportunities that are here as well, if you're wanting to use it. One of the reasons I recommend you use Going Global is because it has information on so many different countries and so many different types of experiences. So for example, I had previously typed in psychology here. I wanted to select the same country that we looked at before, Spain, for example, and you can do all these different, the city, the occupation, keywords, we've just done a few, and you do a search, and all of a sudden, this is now like your traditional search that you're doing, but it's all across the United States and then beyond that in other countries. So you've got different places here, looking for a training design lead, expert psychologist, all the Madrid, ThoughtWorks events, building community around us. Thanks to your Spanish and English skills, you can communicate with others and you're like, oh, this is something perfect for me. And you can learn how to use the information on career guides to then get yourself prepared to go towards a particular job you're looking for and apply for it in that country, or learn how to do that in the other country that you're kind of geared towards and looking for. Really, really cool. Again, this is the same kind of thing that happens with internships. Again, you can select all these different countries and you can search around, see things that are available for you if you're in that space, going to be in that space, or are doing whatever you need to do to get in that new country, or country that's different from this particular country. So I recommend those things as highly updated and good information for you in a place where you may not be able to find other kinds of information. And again, you can even use this for more local jobs. You can be searching for jobs in California. You can be searching for jobs all over the place. Now, one of the things that's kind of cool too here with basically the H-1B visas that they have here is they have a really kind of cool thing. I'll show you a little video on this if it works. Is the H-1B is a sponsorship, and this actually shows through. They actually maintain their own status through Going Global of who and what kind of companies actually support the H-1B. So let me just see if this video works. It's worked before in the past, and if it does, that's fantastic. I just want to show you a couple of things about that and kind of get you going in this area as well.
Welcome to Going Global, the competitive edge that helps job seekers get noticed and get hired. In the United States, the H-1B visa program allows American companies to hire foreign professionals by providing temporary work visas. Going Global has developed a proprietary H-1B search engine that makes it easy to identify visa applications based on location, company name, occupation, job title, and salary ranges. The new Going Global contains H-1B visa records from 2009 to date, allowing for a historical perspective of employers who have consistently sought foreign talent for their U.S. operations. The expanded database now includes more than 2 million H-1B records. Let's start by looking for applications submitted for financial analyst in Atlanta, Georgia. After executing the search, results will include job title, occupation, company name, location, wage. Expand.
All right, so I just wanted to show just a little glimpse of what that is and the different levels and kinds of things that Going Global does. It's that preparation piece. It's the opportunity through jobs and internships. it even has an employer directory, so it can look at employers around the world to see where they're located if you're wanting to go into a specific employer. And that's the last kind of piece here. Then the H-1B that's special in terms of what they've created in terms of a special program to understand, as they've kind of mentioned, a very large number of collected information to find that information out. So this is something you can use all the time. As you can see, once you create a account, you can have a customized web page, you can do job alerts, you can bookmark information. It can take you quite a bit of information, or time to go through this information. So I'll give you that opportunity, and I'll let you know that this is something that you're more than welcome to ask questions about. But in terms of where you start out, it's just going to Going Global off of the main site that we went to for Handshake and resources in the Career Center. And there are other resources that are there. That's great. But aside from them, this is a really realistic one for the jobs, remote jobs, internships here and abroad. So I'm going to stop the share here. We'll move back to the group situation.
Mike, this is Kim. Sorry, could you show again? There were a couple of people who joined late. Could you show again how you got to Handshake and all that, and then to Going Global? Would you mind?
Sure. Yeah. Let me switch over here.
And someone is asking if they only have access to Going Global while a student.
So as far as I understand, all the resources that are part of Handshake are resources that are permanently available to students and alumni. I'm just getting this brought up here through Career Center. So you would have just clicked on the Career Center prior to this year, the main Handshake logo, and then you click on Career Center here. It takes you to this page. You go to Resources, and then in Resources you'll see a significant number of really great resources that the Career Center offers to students, and as far as I know, still graduate alumni that are part of the program that have access to Handshake, which should be something that continues on. So this is something that, yeah, you should be able to use this continuing on. And if you have issues, feel free to contact the Career Center, but use it now while you have at your fingertips. And again, you probably want to set up an account to get moving on that a little bit faster and have more access to the kinds of things and availability. But it certainly is something that you can use right away and as soon as you end today. If this is something you want to move on, feel free to go ahead and log in and start your account. Again, it's the main site for the Handshake, and just click on Career Center and then Resources.
Thanks. One of the things I really recommend you take advantage of in Going Global is the career guides or the country guides, because every country has different norms when it comes to applying for jobs. And so you don't want to make any assumptions based on your particular nationality as a US citizen or other.
Yeah, I agree, Lisa. In fact, other folks, they come from other countries here to the United States and part of the UC San Diego community and family and part of the students, and have some of these things that they brought with them. And it's important to absolutely recognize that each, various countries have different ways of approaching the job market and the resources and resumes and cover letters and CVs and things like that. So yeah, absolutely, I agree.
All right, thanks, Mike.
All right, so Q&A here, and that was our Q&A.
That was our Q&A.
Wow. All right. Well, I'd like to thank you all for having me come today, and wish you wonderful experiences in all the places that you go. Thank you very much.
So I am going to talk a little bit about teaching abroad, which is a very particular type of work abroad. I actually taught English in Japan for 2 years after I graduated from undergrad, and yes, it was fantastic. There are a few different ways to go about finding a position. Several countries sponsor native speakers to work in public schools alongside an English teacher. And we have a few of those listed here. You will typically commit to go for 7 to 12 months. And keep in mind that some countries are not on our September to May academic calendar. Unfortunately, some of the deadlines for have passed for this cycle, but that just gives you plenty of time to prep for the next cycle. Other options are to apply for a program with opportunities across the globe. Many people think of Fulbright as a research abroad opportunity, but they also have teaching assistantships in 65 countries, although you can only apply to one of those countries. And Kim will talk more about the Peace Corps later, but that offers English teaching across the globe as well. There are also placements offered by institutions such as World Teach, CIEE, and the International Volunteer Headquarters. Some countries, especially in Asia, have private conversation schools. Specifically for English, and they'll hire native speakers to teach the more advanced students. And that's actually what I did in Japan. It was through a company called Eon. And I was lucky enough to teach both adults and kids, although usually you'll select one or the other. Finally, you can make your own arrangements and apply for positions independently, such as at a university or a private school abroad. While this option allows for excellent flexibility and occasionally higher compensation rates, you will probably not be provided with the on-site support such as housing, visa guidance, and that type of thing. So don't forget to plan for some upfront costs if you want to go this route. Here are some of the typical qualifications you're likely to see for teaching English abroad. While some you won't see necessarily all of them, but quite often you'll see a lot of these. Undergraduate degree is, I think, the most common, especially if it's one of the government programs. They often want native English speakers rather than as a second language. Some are most interested in hiring Americans, but you may have coworkers from Australia or England or New Zealand, South Africa. I think I've got most of them, or elsewhere around the world. Some may have an age requirement, whether a minimum. I don't think I've ever seen a maximum. Some may want you to have language proficiency in the local language as well. That was definitely not a requirement for Japan. Japan knows how challenging their language is and does not expect you to be proficient in it. That said, you also have to keep in mind that if you're going there to learn the language, that needs to be separate from your teaching, because you're there to teach and not to get free lessons from your students. Experience working with children is usually a plus, if not required. And if you have, even if you have, babysitting experience from a few years ago from your high school days, or if you have younger siblings that you're responsible for, go ahead and let them know about that in your application. While some companies are happy to train you themselves, other positions may require a TEFL certification, and that stands for Teaching English as a Foreign Language. Or a master's in teaching English to speakers of other languages. You'll see programs out there that offer the certificate as a paid program, followed by placement. Just make sure to do your research first and find out how likely that placement is. We have some resources here. The first I want to share is an on-campus, well, I guess on campus is an odd term these days, but a UCSD program called English in Action Tutor Program. Is particularly if you'd like to see how much you like teaching English before you commit to travel and a year of your life. Just a quick heads up from these resources. Dave's ESL Cafe is a very dated website, created, I think, in the 90s, and it shows, but it is still very relevant, and it's been sort of a leader in teaching abroad for ages, obviously. They also have a job board, as do most of these other resources. Studyabroad.com has expanded to offer resources for many global opportunities, including teaching abroad and internships abroad. So internships will usually be at least 7 weeks long, and I'm not familiar with any that would be longer than a semester, but you may find outliers. Language fluency may be a factor in some placements, but there are plenty of English-speaking placements available in most countries as well. Internships abroad are often unpaid because of challenges around work visas, but there are exceptions, so just do your research. Some companies may also just offer you alternate but still limited support, such as a transit pass or something like that. If it's a 4-credit internship, whether you can delay your graduation date a bit, or if it's for grad school, some of you aren't graduating for a while, so you may be able to fit it into your normal undergraduate degree. You may be eligible for financial aid and scholarships, but I've not heard of any financial support otherwise. We have a handful of resources listed here, but again, there's more on our website. DAAD is a program in Denmark that in this case features STEM internships. They have many other programs as well. You can see Going Global makes another appearance, as does Transitions Abroad. Again, more resources, as I mentioned, are available online. There are a couple of ways to go about getting an internship. You can go through a program or find one on your own. I have done both. Providers have spent time in country developing relationships with companies, so they can be rather proprietary about those connections. They can rarely guarantee a specific company for your internship. So what I recommend you do is that you have a conversation with the provider about whether they can just to confirm that they have multiple placements within the field you're interested in, and learn more about what those placements would entail in terms of what work you'd be doing. Some programs don't place you until after arrival, at least officially, so only select those if you have some flexibility or if you are very confident that they have strong connections for your field of interest. Do not be surprised if the company still wants to interview you directly. We're all familiar with Zoom at this point. An excellent feature of going through a program like this is that the program will then be responsible for arranging housing, supporting you, giving you a little bit of visa guidance, and offering an orientation on site. The other option is an independent internship. You find these yourself through the grapevine or again, through Going Global. I was lucky that a classmate in grad school had set up an internship at an office in Australia. So I simply reached out to her contact to inquire about doing an internship the term after my classmate. Basically ask everyone you know, especially faculty, for recommendations on companies in that given field that may be interested in taking on an intern. You never know where you'll find the golden opportunity. Once I secured an internship, I then had to figure out everything else out on my own, including the visa and housing once I arrived. I had done it plenty of times before and it wasn't in a foreign language, so it was more than manageable, but it is something to keep in mind if this isn't your first rodeo. And I'll turn it over to Kim.
Great, thanks, Lisa. I appreciate that. Okay, I'm good. So I'm going to talk a little bit about volunteering abroad options. And so one of the keywords when you think about volunteering is flexibility. Flexibility for you, flexibility for opportunities, and that can be a great thing. So if you're looking to go somewhere and volunteer, you can find opportunities anywhere from 1 week to several years long and everything in between. You can find opportunities at any time during the year, but if you're still going to be a student or you're going to be a grad student, there's opportunities in the summer, winter, or spring breaks. And then volunteer opportunities are really open to anyone. So while you're a student, great, or any stage of life. So there are people of all ages who do volunteer opportunities abroad. And the other thing is that they can be almost anywhere on the globe. So wherever it is that that you're interested in going, most likely you'll be able to find a volunteer opportunity there. So most of the volunteer opportunities that are structured are going to be project-based, and you would be part of a team of people that would come in and help work on this particular project. And one of the things that you want to think about and keep an eye out for is the sustainability of the project and how it's impacting the host community. So for example, a lot of these opportunities, they will be part of an ongoing project that has been launched by the host community. It's assistance that they need, something that they want to build, something that they want to create, whether it's programs or actually buildings or what projects, whatever it is. And you would be coming in as part of a team to help move that project forward. So you want to make sure it's coming from the host community and it's not a project where you're going in and basically telling the community what they should be doing, how they should be doing it, why they should be doing it. So it's not imposing our values and perspectives on the community, but rather working with them and their values and their ethics and their goals to help advance that. Lisa, you have that great quote about that. Do you mind sharing that?
I have come to do good against you.
Yeah, that's right. So we don't want that to happen, right? So, so you want to definitely consider that as you're looking at program opportunities. With funding, most volunteer experiences, you will pay for the experience. There's little to no funding that we are aware of to help either students or young adults or any adults with these experiences. And then you will obviously be paying for whatever it is you're doing there for the project, but also your housing and your airfare and your meals. Another thing that I wanted to say about this is that while you're working on a volunteer project, these are definitely skills that you can be learning that could be work related. Certainly they're life skills, but work related that you could actually put on a resume. So it doesn't have to be necessarily something that's specific to your field. It can be something related, but you know, working as part of a team is certainly, you know, a career skill that everyone is looking for. So these can definitely be experiences that you can put on your resume, even though they're unpaid and even though they're not so formal as like a job. It's project based. So that's important to remember. Next slide, please, Lisa. Thanks. So these are some of the resources that we have. And actually, Lisa put in the chat early on the link to on our website for it's called More Ways to Go Abroad, so sort of beyond study. And these actual websites that I pulled are on there, but there are many others. So I just want to make sure that you are aware of that. And then with volunteerabroad.com, this is a part of the Go Abroad family, but this is a database of opportunities. So it can be a good place for you to start and begin to familiarize yourself with the kinds of programs and options that are out there, because there are many, just like with study abroad, there are many. And then IVPA is the International Volunteer Programs Association. And IVPA is sort of like the Better Business Bureau of volunteer programs. Any program that belongs to IVPA has agreed to uphold certain standards and follow certain practices. So again, it's not something that you have to look at. It doesn't mean if a program's not a member of IVPA that it's bad, but it's again another resource that you can look at as you begin to look at opportunities that can be helpful as you're exploring. Lisa mentioned the Peace Corps. The Peace Corps sort of viewed as the granddaddy of volunteer experiences, you know, run by the US government, volunteers all over the world. It's very structured, obviously competitive, and these are usually 2-year commitments. And so this is a long-term commitment, but an amazing program and all kinds of opportunities. Obviously, Lisa mentioned it as part of the teaching abroad portfolio, but there are all kinds of work that people do as part of the Peace Corps. For those of you who are still going to be students here for a couple of years, if you are involved with a UCEAP, with the UCEAP Education Abroad, Study Abroad program, sorry, EAP has a Peace Corps prep program that students can apply for if they are studying abroad with EAP. And basically it's guided activities and a curriculum that helps you become a more competitive Peace Corps applicant. So it doesn't guarantee you acceptance into the Peace Corps, but it definitely would heighten the skills, the knowledge, abilities that you need to be a more competitive candidate. So that's just something to be aware of. A few other organizations, again, that you may want to think about that we've had students go on that we work with in other ways. Child Family Health International provides opportunities in community health, volunteer opportunities. So any of you that are looking at that sector, some great options there. Earthwatch, as you can guess, these are projects where they'll pair you with researchers who are working on pressing environmental challenges. And so you could be part of that team working on those. And then Projects Abroad is, again, a general a provider, if you will, that organizes volunteer experiences. These are worldwide, very structured, lots of varying possibilities. And then Volunteers in Asia, again, resource if you're looking at Asia specifically, another one to take a look at. But there are many others, again, on our website that you may want to investigate. So next slide, Lisa. So now we're going to jump to graduate school abroad and other opportunities that you all have. And so, yes, you can go and earn a graduate degree in another country. And so you want to start planning early and researching these opportunities. And there are a number of ways that you can research schools, and it's a similar process to researching your undergrad experience. But one of the things that I'll show you on the next slide when we get there is a lot of the governments, country governments around the world have websites about how to study as an international student in their country. And these can be really, really helpful as a starting point because it gives you all the information, all the guidelines, things you need to think about, what kind of visa you would need, just all kinds of information. And so again, once we get to the next slide, we will look at those, but those are definitely a place that we recommend that you start looking. In terms of funding opportunities, obviously it's graduate school. So hopefully there's financial aid that you'd be eligible for. Hopefully the institution abroad has scholarships that they can help you with. But there are some funding opportunities that are based in the United States that students apply for often prior to graduation or immediately after graduation. And so some of these are Rhodes, Marshall, Boren, Fulbright, and Schwartzman. And so you can take a look at these different opportunities. Rhodes is obviously Oxford, Marshall is anywhere in the United Kingdom. Boren is non-Western locations in the world, so not Western Europe, Australia, New Zealand, or Canada. Fulbright is worldwide, and Schwartzman is a specific opportunity. It's a one-year master's at a specific university in China. But these are just a few to get you thinking about them. And the other thing that I want to share about this is that we will be having a panel on nationally competitive scholarships for global opportunities, which includes all of these. Either May 11th or 12th. It hasn't been scheduled yet, and it's not run by our office, but I'm always a participant on it. So we're looking at May 11 or 12. If you want to know about this and attend, because there are a lot of experts who talk about all these scholarships at these sessions, feel free to email our office at abroad@ucsd.edu. I would say next week, and I will make sure it gets on our calendar if you look at our website of events. But also if you email abroad, I'll make sure that our student staff are aware once it gets scheduled. If it had been scheduled by today, obviously I would have included it. But if it's, I definitely recommend if you can attend, it's something to attend if you're interested in these scholarships. And then you also can think about, obviously, if you're going to graduate school here in the United States, many graduate schools here have study abroad programs that are part of their programs. So obviously, you know, if you're going to medical school, they often have the opportunity for students to do rotations in other countries. If you are going to be in business school, business schools have sometimes 1 and 2 week programs where they take students to different countries to go to businesses and talk to practitioners and all of that. So, you know, whether you had a study abroad experience here as an undergrad or you didn't, it doesn't mean that it all ends with graduate school. There are definitely opportunities for grad students as well. And then lastly, there are a lot of study abroad programs that will take students who have bachelor's degrees. So again, whether or not you had the chance to study abroad while you were here, you can still go on those programs. Unfortunately, if you want to do a UC program, you still have to be a UC student, but any other study abroad provider, the majority of programs are open to students or adults of any age. And so it doesn't mean that you can't take advantage of those opportunities. And next slide, Lisa. So these are just a sampling of the government websites that I was talking about previously, just to give you an idea of a few locations, but really you should be able to find them because most of them, again, are run by the government of that country. And so it'll be on their website. If you can't find anything, the consulate or the embassy of that particular website, but they will give you all of the information. And then a couple general resources. The gooverseas.com, which is another sort of a clearinghouse of opportunities, has a section on graduate studies. And they've got a number of different schools that are highlighted and programs. And then also this topuniversities.com. This is one of the organizations that does a lot of analytics, and they rate universities around the world on a variety of categories and criteria. And so if you go on Top Universities, you'll see the ranking of a number of universities worldwide. And of course, you can look, there are a number of sites who do this. And as you look at them, different schools will come out on top depending on whichever ranking, whichever site you're looking at and the analytics that they use. But this can be another way for you to explore universities as you're thinking about grad school abroad. So I think that's the last slide, I think, other than the questions. Oh, Lisa, you're muted.
Thank you, Kim. I appreciate that. I could have gone on and on. So we do have one question that came up in chat about, can I get a teaching job as a stepping stone? Yes, absolutely. I had sort of colleagues when I taught abroad in Japan who were able to do that. Keep in mind that, or at least, when you're teaching abroad, you're often sponsored by a specific company. So once you leave work with that company, your visa is no longer valid, and you have to make sure that the new company will be able to sponsor you for that visa. Visa regulations differ from country to country, so I don't want to get into it too much or anything, but it's just something to keep in mind. You can even show up on a tourist visa in some cases and start wheeling and dealing and trying to find that position. But then you may have to leave in order to get the visa. There may be a delay. So it's just some things to keep in mind. A lot of that information and some of those strategies are going to be available on the websites we provided, particularly like Dave's ESL Cafe and Transitions Abroad. When do we recommend you start planning for work abroad? That really depends. I would say as early as possible. A lot of it is sort of who you know and not what you know sometimes. So I would say at least your senior year, if not starting to make those connections sooner. I don't know how familiar y'all are with informational interviews. I think I did mention it in the presentation, but basically you'll reach out to someone in the field and just request an informational interview, and you'll just ask them something like, what is it like being in this field? You can go ahead and just do an internet search for the best questions to ask. So I don't have to give a total one-on-one on informational interviews right now. All of these links, great question. Let me share my screen again. I was going to do this and I forgot. So if you go to our main website, studyabroad.ucsd.edu, and you go to find a program, and then scroll down a bit to work, intern, and volunteer abroad, or just right here on the side, more ways to go abroad. And that's where all the links are going to be. We have some UCSD resources, working and teaching abroad. I told you there were more. Here's for example, a printable handout of some of those organizations you could go through. I chose this one because I did this one at the very top, as I mentioned, Eon. Same goes for interning abroad. Look at all of these. We do list programs for academic internship programs. These might be in conjunction with some additional courses taken abroad. So for example, 3 classes and then an internship besides. Some more volunteering abroad. Michigan State and the University of Minnesota, I think, is also listed up above here. Oh no, that's University of Michigan as well, of course. And they have some great resources as well. And then for volunteering abroad, oh yeah, IAE Password and Idealist are great options as well. And then there's some other additional programs offered while I believe you're still a student. Jacobs School of Engineering ties, for example.
Do you want me to grab the grad school question?
Yes, please.
And then
I'll take the next one.
You want to take the study abroad? Okay. For grad school and the timing, it's a good question. I would not assume that it would be the same timeline as a US grad school. It's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. But again, if you look at some of those, the country websites that I was showing you where they're giving information for students who want to be international students there, they should be able to give you, that should give you a good timeline, or the actual university website itself. So I'm sorry, I don't know that answer specifically. But I would not necessarily assume that it would be the same.
I'll also share that there are one-year grad programs abroad as well.
Thank you. Yes.
I had a colleague who did one of those in the UK. So we also have a question about studying abroad your senior year, if you graduate on time. It's all right. So yes, you can absolutely go abroad your senior year. We also have had plenty of students who go abroad the summer after they otherwise would have graduated. You do need to plan for that ahead of time. You can't come to us now and say, hey, I still want to go abroad this summer. not for reasons other than programs aren't running this summer. So, you can absolutely go abroad. You just have to plan it like you would any other quarter. Make sure that you don't have any, that you're able to fulfill all your requirements. Some students may just have to, at a certain point, just have, need to meet a credit requirement. Some may have a major class left. You just have to figure out what's going to work best for you. But like I said, you can also, choose to study abroad this summer after you would have otherwise graduated. You can still participate in the ceremony. You just don't officially apply to graduate, which is a small but important distinction. And do I know anyone who actively searched for internships or employment during study abroad? That is an excellent question. Nobody has told me about it. I suspect that plenty have, and especially because you're there and able to network quite well. So I don't see any reason why you couldn't. Many countries limit your ability to work while on study abroad. There are some where you can apply to work. So my point being that it would just sort of be that initial networking process, and you might not actually be able to start participation in that company yet. It's yelling at my cat. Any other questions? These are some great ones.
We have another one.
Yeah, are we able to come back to the study abroad office to ask for advice or any guidance? What do you think, Kim? Is there somebody specific that we could email?
Yeah, not anyone specific, but go ahead. I would just say, go ahead. Yes, please contact us or put a message in VAC and explain what you want. Or you could email abroad@ucsd.edu, which is on our website, and ask your question. And we can, I'm sure there are several of us in the office that could help. So
yeah, especially if you're worried about programs, about how legitimate they may be, that type of thing. Right. If you find their name elsewhere on our website, you're good. Like I mentioned, CIDE, I scrolled through, there was API, Arcadia, all those different internships, for example. But I love how you phrase this question after researching these opportunities on our own. That is key, because our expertise is in academic programs abroad. We're not really able, or we're not really set up to know in detail about non-academic programs abroad. We happen to, because we've been in this field long enough. So as I mentioned, I and a lot of the other advisors have had their own experiences, so we are familiar with them to a certain degree, but some of the nuanced questions that you may be coming to us with, I'm afraid, simply not going to know everything.
Yeah.
Especially if you if you have been in contact with anyone in our office for a study abroad experience, whether it actually manifested or not, that's someone that you could certainly reach out to directly as well. All right, if anybody's feverishly writing a question, let us know, like save your question, save your question, and then quickly type wait. Otherwise, I think we will call it a session. Thank you so much. It was really great fun to chat to you all about experiences abroad.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day.